The morning sun cast long shadows across the pristine gardens of Rosewood Palace as Queen Isabella walked slowly along the cobblestone pathway. Her elegant purple dress rustled softly with each step, and her silver hair was perfectly arranged beneath a small crystal tiara. At her side walked young Princess Sophia, a spirited 8-year-old with golden curls bouncing as she skipped along the garden path. Princess Sophia had always been curious about everything around her. Today was no different, as she pointed excitedly at the colorful butterflies dancing among the roses and asked endless questions about the ancient oak trees that lined the palace grounds. Queen Isabella, who had recently married into the royal family, was still learning how to connect with her new step-granddaughter. "Grandmother Isabella, can we go see the fountain?" Princess Sophia asked, tugging gently at the queen's gloved hand. The magnificent marble fountain stood at the center of the garden, surrounded by a low stone wall that overlooked the valley below. "Of course, dear child," Queen Isabella replied with a warm smile. She had been trying her best to build a loving relationship with Princess Sophia ever since joining the royal family 6 months ago. The little princess meant everything to her father, King Alexander, and Isabella wanted nothing more than to be a positive presence in the child's life. As they approached the fountain, Princess Sophia's eyes grew wide with wonder. The water sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight, and carved dolphins seemed to dance around the base. She had visited this fountain hundreds of times before, but it never failed to fill her with joy and amazement. "Tell me the story about the dolphins again," Princess Sophia requested, settling onto the stone ledge that surrounded the fountain. This particular spot had become her favorite place in the entire palace grounds. Queen Isabella sat beside her, grateful for these peaceful moments they shared together. "Long ago," she began, "when your great-great-grandfather was just a young prince, he discovered these magical dolphins swimming in a hidden lake, deep in the forest." Princess Sophia listened intently, her blue eyes sparkling with delight as Queen Isabella continued the familiar tale. The story had been passed down through generations of the royal family, and each telling made it feel more magical and real. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus stood at his usual post near the palace steps, his trained eyes constantly scanning the gardens for any signs of trouble. He had served as the head of royal security for over 15 years, and took his responsibility of protecting the royal family very seriously. His military background had taught him to notice even the smallest details that others might miss. From his position, Captain Marcus could see Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia enjoying their morning walk. He smiled slightly, remembering how nervous Queen Isabella had been during her first weeks at the palace. She had worried constantly about saying or doing the wrong thing around Princess Sophia, but now they seemed to have found their rhythm together. The gardens were particularly beautiful this morning. The royal gardeners had worked tirelessly to ensure every flower was perfectly arranged and every pathway was spotlessly clean. Visitors often commented that the palace gardens were among the most stunning in the entire kingdom, and Captain Marcus felt proud to protect such a magnificent place. As Queen Isabella continued her story, Princess Sophia became more animated, gesturing wildly with her small hands. She loved hearing about the magical creatures that supposedly lived throughout the kingdom, and she often dreamed of having her own adventures someday. "And then what happened to the dolphins?" Princess Sophia asked eagerly, bouncing slightly on the stone ledge. "Well," Queen Isabella said, pausing for dramatic effect, "the young prince made a wish that the dolphins would always bring good luck and happiness to anyone who visited their fountain." Princess Sophia clapped her hands together with glee. "Do you think the wish still works?" "I believe it does," Queen Isabella replied thoughtfully. "After all, being here with you makes me very happy." The morning continued peacefully as they shared stories and watched the fountain's gentle spray catch the sunlight. Birds chirped melodiously in the nearby trees, and a soft breeze carried the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers throughout the garden. Captain Marcus remained vigilant at his post, occasionally checking his radio for updates from other security team members positioned around the palace grounds. Everything seemed perfectly normal and peaceful, just as it should be on such a beautiful morning. Queen Isabella felt grateful for these special moments with Princess Sophia. When she had first married King Alexander, she had worried about her role as a stepmother figure. Would the little princess accept her? Would she be able to provide the love and guidance that Princess Sophia deserved? Those concerns seemed far away now as she watched Princess Sophia's face light up with joy and laughter. The child had such a pure heart and an infectious enthusiasm for life that made everyone around her smile. "Grandmother Isabella," Princess Sophia said suddenly, "thank you for always having time for me." Queen Isabella felt her heart swell with emotion. "Sweet child, spending time with you is one of my greatest joys. You bring so much light into all our lives." As they sat together by the fountain, neither Queen Isabella nor Princess Sophia could have imagined that their peaceful morning was about to take a dramatic and frightening turn. The events that would unfold in the next few minutes would test everyone's courage and quick thinking, and would ultimately bring the royal family even closer together than before. As the morning grew warmer, Princess Sophia became increasingly restless sitting on the fountain's edge. Her natural curiosity and boundless energy made it difficult for her to stay in one place for too long, no matter how magical the stories might be. "Can we walk around the fountain?" Princess Sophia asked, already beginning to stand up from her seated position. "I want to see the dolphins from every angle." Queen Isabella nodded with understanding. She remembered being young and full of energy herself, though those days felt like a lifetime ago. "Of course, darling. But please stay close to me." Princess Sophia practically bounced with excitement as she began walking around the circular fountain. The stone wall surrounding it was about 2 feet high and perfectly safe for walking alongside, but Queen Isabella kept a watchful eye on the energetic child nonetheless. The fountain truly was a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Each carved dolphin was unique, with intricate details that told different parts of the ancient legend. Princess Sophia pointed out every small detail she noticed, from the tiny scales carved into their bodies to the playful expressions on their faces. "Look at this one, Grandmother Isabella," Princess Sophia called out, moving closer to examine a particularly elaborate dolphin sculpture. "It looks like it's smiling just for me." Queen Isabella followed behind, her long dress making it more challenging to keep up with the nimble child. She was still getting accustomed to moving gracefully in the formal attire required for her royal duties, especially the delicate shoes that were more fashionable than practical. As they continued around the fountain, Princess Sophia's excitement grew. She began walking faster, occasionally placing her hand on the stone wall for balance as she leaned in to get closer looks at different sculptures. "Careful, dear," Queen Isabella called, gently. "The stones can be slippery from the fountain's spray." But Princess Sophia was completely absorbed in her exploration. She had discovered that from certain angles, the water created beautiful rainbow patterns in the sunlight, and she was determined to find the perfect spot to see them all. Captain Marcus, still maintaining his vigilant watch from the palace steps, noticed the increased activity around the fountain. His years of experience had taught him to pay attention when situations began to change, even in seemingly harmless ways. Through his binoculars, he could see Princess Sophia moving more energetically around the fountain, while Queen Isabella followed at a more measured pace. Nothing appeared dangerous, but Captain Marcus made a mental note to keep watching their location more closely. "Princess Sophia, please slow down just a bit," Queen Isabella called, beginning to feel slightly winded from trying to keep up. Her concern was growing as she noticed how close the child was getting to certain areas where the stone wall bordered the steep slope that led down to the valley. Princess Sophia turned back with a bright smile. "But Grandmother Isabella, the rainbows are so beautiful from over here. Come see." In her enthusiasm, Princess Sophia had moved to a section of the fountain where the decorative stone wall was positioned directly at the edge of a significant drop-off. The palace gardens were built on elevated ground, and this particular area offered stunning views of the valley below. But it also meant that the drop was considerable. Queen Isabella quickened her pace, feeling a flutter of anxiety in her chest. "Princess Sophia, please come back toward the center. That area might not be as safe." But the child was completely captivated by the dancing rainbows in the fountain's spray. She took another step closer to get an even better view, placing both hands on the stone wall to lean forward slightly. "The colors are incredible," Princess Sophia exclaimed. "It's like the dolphins really are magical." Queen Isabella's concern was rapidly turning into genuine worry. The ornate stone wall, while beautiful, was quite old, and she suddenly remembered hearing palace maintenance discussing some minor repairs that needed to be made to various garden structures. "Sophia, darling, please step back from there," Queen Isabella said, her voice carrying a new note of urgency that she tried to keep calm for the child's sake. Princess Sophia, hearing the change in Queen Isabella's tone, began to turn around to look back at her. As she shifted her weight to turn, her foot slipped slightly on a patch of moss that had grown on the stone where the fountain's spray regularly moistened the surface. The slip was small, barely noticeable, but it caused Princess Sophia to grip the stone wall more tightly for balance. As she did, she pressed more of her weight against the decorative barrier. Queen Isabella's heart began to race as she saw what was happening. She moved as quickly as her formal attire would allow, but the distance between them suddenly felt enormous. "Hold on, sweetheart," Queen Isabella called out, trying to keep her voice steady despite her growing alarm. "I'm coming to you." Princess Sophia, now aware that something was wrong, tried to push herself back from the wall. But her small hands had difficulty finding secure grip on the smooth, damp stone, and her feet couldn't quite reach solid ground while she remained holding onto the wall. "Grandmother Isabella, I can't." Princess Sophia's voice carried a note of fear as she realized she was in a precarious position. Captain Marcus, who had been monitoring the situation through his binoculars, immediately recognized the danger. His years of security training kicked in instantly, and he began running toward the fountain area at full speed. Queen Isabella reached Princess Sophia just as the child's grip on the stone wall began to weaken. Without thinking about her own safety or dignity, Queen Isabella lunged forward to grab Princess Sophia's arm. "I've got you," Queen Isabella said, but as she pulled Princess Sophia toward safety, her own elaborate dress caught on a rough edge of the stone wall. In the confusion of the moment, Queen Isabella lost her balance. Her instinctive grab for Princess Sophia had succeeded in moving the child away from the immediate danger, but now both of them were teetering dangerously close to the edge. Princess Sophia, frightened and confused, clung tightly to Queen Isabella's arm. "What's happening?" she cried out. Queen Isabella tried to regain her footing, but her impractical shoes provided little traction on the damp stone, and her heavy dress continued to restrict her movement. She realized with horror that her rescue attempt might have made the situation worse. Captain Marcus was still sprinting across the garden, his radio crackling with urgent communications as other security personnel responded to his emergency call. But the distance seemed impossibly far as he watched both Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia struggling near the dangerous edge. Time seemed to slow down as the critical moments unfolded, with everyone's safety hanging in the balance. Captain Marcus reached the fountain area just as Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia were both struggling to maintain their balance near the treacherous edge. His military training had prepared him for exactly this kind of emergency situation, and he immediately assessed the scene with professional clarity. "Your Majesty." "Princess Sophia, stay very still," Captain Marcus commanded in a calm but authoritative voice as he approached carefully. "I'm going to help you both." Princess Sophia looked up with tear-filled eyes, clearly frightened but trying to be brave. Queen Isabella's face showed a mixture of determination and fear as she continued to hold tightly to the child while fighting to keep her own footing on the slippery stone. Captain Marcus positioned himself strategically, using his superior strength and balance to create a stable anchor point. "Princess Sophia, I need you to reach toward me with your free hand, but don't let go of Queen Isabella yet." The little princess nodded bravely and slowly extended her small hand toward Captain Marcus. Her fingers trembled slightly, but she showed remarkable courage for such a young child facing a scary situation. "That's perfect, Princess," Captain Marcus said encouragingly as he gently grasped her hand. "Now, I'm going to count to 3, and we're all going to move together toward safety. Queen Isabella, when I say 3, take a step backward while I pull Princess Sophia toward solid ground." Queen Isabella nodded, grateful beyond words for Captain Marcus's swift response and professional handling of the crisis. "Ready," she said, though her voice shook slightly with emotion. 1, 2, 3, Captain Marcus called out. In one coordinated movement, Captain Marcus pulled Princess Sophia firmly but gently away from the edge, while Queen Isabella stepped backward toward safety. The maneuver worked perfectly, and within seconds both Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia were standing on solid ground, away from any danger. Princess Sophia immediately threw her arms around Captain Marcus's legs, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you for saving us," she sobbed. Captain Marcus knelt down to Princess Sophia's level, his stern expression softening into genuine warmth and concern. "You were very brave, Princess. I'm proud of how you listened and helped us keep everyone safe." Queen Isabella sank onto a nearby garden bench, her legs shaking from the adrenaline and fear of what could have happened. "Captain Marcus, I cannot thank you enough. If you hadn't been watching, if you hadn't responded so quickly, Your Majesty, you showed tremendous courage trying to protect Princess Sophia," Captain Marcus replied respectfully. "Your instincts were absolutely correct. The situation just required a different approach." By now, other members of the royal security team had arrived at the fountain area, along with palace medical staff who had been alerted by Captain Marcus's emergency call. They quickly examined both Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia to ensure neither had been injured during the frightening ordeal. "We're both fine, just shaken up," Queen Isabella assured the medical team. Thanks to Captain Marcus's quick thinking and brave actions, King Alexander arrived at the garden within minutes of being notified about the incident. His face showed the worry and fear that any parent would experience upon learning their child had been in danger. "Sophia, Isabella, are you both all right?" King Alexander called out as he hurried toward them. Princess Sophia ran into her father's arms, still sniffling from her earlier tears but now showing signs of excitement as she began to process what had happened. "Papa, it was so scary, but Captain Marcus saved us like a real hero." King Alexander embraced his daughter tightly, then turned to Queen Isabella with deep gratitude and concern. "My dear Isabella, I heard you put yourself at risk to protect Sophia. Any mother would have done the same," Queen Isabella replied softly, accepting King Alexander's grateful hug. "She means everything to our family." Captain Marcus stood at respectful attention as King Alexander approached him. "Captain, I understand we owe you an enormous debt of gratitude." "Your Majesty, I was simply doing my duty," Captain Marcus replied humbly. "Protecting the royal family is my honor and responsibility. Your quick thinking and brave actions went far beyond duty," King Alexander said firmly. "You will be properly recognized for your heroism." As the immediate crisis passed and everyone's emotions began to settle, Princess Sophia's natural resilience began to shine through. She started asking questions about why the stone wall had been slippery and whether the fountain dolphins had been trying to keep her safe. "I think they were," Queen Isabella said with a smile, finally beginning to relax. After all, everything turned out well in the end. The incident led to immediate safety improvements throughout the palace gardens. Captain Marcus personally oversaw the installation of additional safety barriers in areas where elevated paths bordered significant drops. The maintenance team thoroughly inspected and repaired all decorative walls and structures. More importantly, the frightening experience brought Queen Isabella and Princess Sophia even closer together. Queen Isabella had proven through her actions that she would risk anything to protect Princess Sophia, and the little princess now saw her step-grandmother as not just family, but as someone who truly loved her. "Grandmother Isabella," Princess Sophia said later that evening as they sat together in the palace library, "you were very brave today." "We both were," Queen Isabella replied, stroking Princess Sophia's golden curls. "And we learned that we can count on wonderful people like Captain Marcus to help keep us safe." Captain Marcus was indeed honored by the royal family and the entire kingdom for his heroic actions. He continued to serve as head of security with even greater dedication, knowing that his vigilance and quick response had prevented what could have been a terrible tragedy. The fountain remained Princess Sophia's favorite spot in the palace gardens, though now she always stayed well away from the edges. Queen Isabella continued to join her for morning walks, and their bond grew stronger with each passing day. The story of that frightening morning became part of the palace's history, serving as a reminder of the importance of constant vigilance, quick thinking, and the power of people working together to protect those they care about. Most importantly, it demonstrated that even in moments of greatest danger, courage and love would always prevail.